Well, with me now is Sucharita Kodali in Charlotte, North Carolina. Sucharita is a retail analyst at research firm Forrester. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Rochelle.
So let's start with what stood out to you the most from Amazon's earnings report.
Well, there are a number of things that I thought were fascinating. Amazon at this point is close to a $300 billion company. For this to happen in such a short period of time is extraordinary. So that, just the sheer volume of the business is one that cannot be understated. It is one of the largest retailers in the world now after it came essentially out of nowhere 20 years ago. Now, the pop in the stock price, I think, was interesting, too, because really the numbers that Amazon reported this past quarter are not all that different from the past. The main reason that the pop happened is because virtually every analyst thought that it would have dismal profitability due to its investment in one-day shipping. But what happened was that the growth in its profit pools, AWS, advertising, and third-party marketplaces, outpaced the growth in Amazon overall. That led to significant profitability in those businesses that it was able to offset the costs for shipping. So what we saw was actually overall profitability that's about the same as it was last year. So that's fine, but I am not sure that it's news for, great rejoice.
Now, a lot of people, obviously, when they think of Amazon, they think of shopping, they think of Amazon Prime. You don't really hear that much about Amazon Web Services, AWS. Which investments by Amazon really paid off the most?
Well, the three profit pools that are the most important for Amazon, certainly AWS has been on a tear. The challenge with AWS is that there's so much competition. I mean, IBM that we just heard is one of them that isn't even as viable as Microsoft, Google, Oracle, and others. So there is tremendous competition from an AWS cloud provisioning services standpoint. The other two areas that are emerging, advertising is huge, and they are essentially taking on Google and Facebook in that world with digital ads. It is now a nascent part of the advertising community, but it is one that is a formidable competitor because of the data on conversions and shopping that Amazon naturally has. And its big behemoth from a profitability standpoint is its third-party marketplace. It's all the sellers across the Amazon e-commerce platform globally.
So then, given the company's goals and expectations so far, where does Amazon go from here?
Well, Amazon is perhaps the most innovative company in the entire world. If you look at its list of press releases, they are putting out press releases several times a week with new innovations. I mean, even their report just today on their earnings has about 50-plus bullet points of things that they've experimented with in the past year. The company has more than 500,000 employees. Many of these individuals are tasked with innovation and what is next for Amazon. There are so many things that it is investing in, everything from logistics and transportation to essentially their innovations in their warehousing, doorbell systems and security cameras, delivery into people's fridges and garages and cars. There are so many areas of investment, and they are throwing so many things against the wall. Even if a few stick, that's really where the growth is going to come from.
And it's interesting, for a company this big to still have that sort of startup mentality. They're still willing to put themselves out there and try things. Now, one of the issues, you mentioned things like delivering goods into your fridge. A lot of people are wondering about privacy. Amazon also may have to contend with a digital tax that's on hold for now by France. And you also have some U.S. lawmakers calling for the breakup of some of these huge tech companies. What do you think Amazon should be most concerned about?
Well, certainly the regulatory issues are absolutely huge factors, and these are things that Amazon has to contend with. That's why they are some of the biggest spenders on government relations and lobbying and contributions to politicians in Washington compared to virtually almost every other company in the entire world. So they're absolutely on top of that issue, but that's also why they're innovating, and that is a significant part of why why Amazon is no longer just a bookseller. They pivoted away from that business years ago. They've moved into content creation. Now they're going into logistics. The idea is that if something major happens, like the company has to be broken up and AWS has to be split up, how do they still retain their shareholder value? And that is where these additional other businesses come into play. And that's why it is so important to them that they continue to innovate.
Sucharita Kodali there, retail analyst at Forrester. Thanks so much.